and then we'll test it through the airbrush, see how it comes out. So, got my airbrush all primed up. I pretty much keep everything at 20 psi. That just seems to work for me. It's rare that I change my psi, even with my shading. So I'm going to take this off and show you the air gauge. Right there, and it's kind of dirty. It's been used a lot. But what you'll notice is when I hit the trigger, that needle moves. It's actually kind of low. So I'm going to crank this down. And you want, it's when you hit the trigger of your airbrush, you know your PSI. See, it's kind of high. It's a little high right now. And this, you know, I'm not super accurate about this. It's right there, we're about 20. You can see when I don't push it, it goes up a little higher. When I push it, it goes right about 20. So that's where we're going to leave it. And we're on the camera again. And for demonstration's sake, I'm going to go ahead and use my compressor, which I usually, or not my compressor, my spray booth, which I mentioned I don't use very often. Just because it's kind of small, I think. I wish I had. I think I'm going to make one eventually when I'm going to move into a new house next year. And I'm going to make one with an open top, just so I can get into it better. Oh, and another thing that I love about these mixing cups is that when I go to pour my paint into my cup, it's not very messy, because I can make a little spout and pour it in there. And see, no drips, no mess. So I'll go ahead and take this and I'll just test it on some paper. Looks like it's pretty good. You'll be able to tell if it's thinned correctly. If you get little flying hairs, it's way too thick, it's drying out. If you start spraying your part and it puddles right away, it's too thin. So it looks like we're good. And there's a couple things about primer. Kind of misconceptions. Primer does two things. It gives you a better surface for adhering the paint, and it can also act as a filler. Now, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm doing resin or I've done any sort of sanding, I use it as a filler, meaning I'll put it on at least once, maybe twice, a couple coats. When I'm just doing a part like this, I'm not really worried about covering up the part completely and making sure I don't see the bare plastic color. And also I use a canned air. I have a big air compressor over here, but I'm not going to turn it on because it's really loud. So I'll either use canned air or I'll use my air compressor that I use for like my pneumatic nailer and stuff to blow dust off. So when I'm doing bare plastic and I haven't done any real sanding, this has just been scuffed up with that really high grit scuffing pad I showed you. I think it's Microfine, which is about 800 grit. I'm not worried about covering up the bare plastic because I just want to give it something to grip to. I'm not feeling any scratches or anything. So I'm just going to put it on real lightly. And so it's going to get a little bit loud because my air compressor is not the quietest thing. So here we go. Plug it in. So I'm going to take my part like this. That means I got a little spatter right away. And I'm just going to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a real light mist coat. And I do the whole part, inside and out. Because you never know what part of what you're going to see. And a good practice, and I find, is hit your edges first. Because those seem to be the parts that get missed the most. So, I don't know if you can see it. I need to get some better lighting for you guys. Let's see if I turn that off. It's kind of dark. So it's very light. You can barely see it. I'm going to let that sit just for a second. And I'll even just hit it with my airbrush with some air. Just like this. And then we go over again. And I'm just misting it on. I'm not putting a whole lot on. Again, I'm not worried about if I see through the plastic, I don't care. I'm just giving something the paint to stick to. Again, I'm at 20 psi. And you'll notice when I'm using my airbrush, I pretty much keep my trigger, the air coming through the whole time. and it's all in how much I pull the trigger back. Like I said before, if you just push the button down, all the air comes out. The further back I pull the trigger, more paint comes out. So this one, I'm just kind of, it's hard to see, but if you can see my finger moving as I go. I'm going to zoom out. You can see it. So if you see my finger, I'm just kind of pulsating it. And that's it. Now this piece, I pretty much covered it up. It's not important to you, but when that dries, it'll be nice and ready for some paint. So that's my little priming tutorial for plastic. It'll change a little different with resin. Not a whole lot of difference. Basically, the type of primer you use, and resin usually requires several applications just to fill it in and to get it smooth. All you guys who do all sorts of modifications, you know all about several rounds of primer and such, just to make sure you smooth everything out. So I'm going to go ahead and prime the rest of my parts of the GNX today. I'll get that showed to you. After I prime, I'll probably let it sit. It's always best to let it sit overnight, but I like to move fast, so I'll probably start laying down some base color today. And to give you an idea of what I'm doing with the GNX, I usually don't have color patterns pre-planned. I just kind of look at my paint collection and see what I have and kind of go from there. So my initial thought, and this could change, is kind of do like the yellow-gray scheme. I'm not sure if I'm going to do any shading on this guy. I may shade the gray parts. I don't know, I'm still thinking about it. But I'm going to do yellow-gray, and I'm going to use some Alclad clear yellow. This is really nice sprayed over the yellow, Mr. Color Yellow. It gives it a nice orange tinge. For the metallics, I'm going to go with Super Metallic Gold and Super Iron. So the frame will be a combination of these two tones. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing looks. It could look like complete crap. I'm not sure. But this is kind of what I've come up with. My color schemes are usually pretty simple. I keep it usually to 2 or 3 colors. I find that just keeps things less distractive and less busy. I don't think I've ever done more than maybe 3 colors in the main color scheme. Now my Kshatriya, all the little bits and pieces, there's probably 5 different types of metallics, but that's all the little detail parts. On the major parts, I usually keep it to 2 or 3 colors just to keep it kind of cohesive. That's it for now. Stay tuned for the next step, which will be base coating, and that'll be again kind of another beginner tutorial on how to base coat your parts to get the best results. Thanks for watching.